Podcast, the Sporticast.
It is Kurt, 100% Bodenhausen joining us. It must be evaluations time. It is baseball season. Yankees open today. Recently spoke with the commissioner about all things media, labor. Kurt, Yankees number one in the valuations. I guess I'm not, spilling too many beans when we have the Yankees, but the gap between 1 and 2 is certainly a story. And then you tell me what the other top line stories are in your opinion.
Yeah, I think the big story here is the Dodgers. When Shohei Ohtani joined the Dodgers last year, the Yankees have been the most valuable MLB team for decades now. And I had one banker tell me last year, Shohei Ohtani is going to cause the Dodgers to pass the Yankees as the most valuable baseball team. And he said, in 10 years. I called him
meant
up
to
this
say
year.
two. Meant to say
I
two.
said 10 years? And he said, it's already happened. So we do not have the Dodgers ahead of the Yankees this year, but that gap has closed quite a bit during a year at a point in time where baseball is struggling with a lot of issues. The Dodgers have no issues. Values up, MLB high 23%, added 1.43 billion, I think, to their value this year, which is more than the overall value of 4 MLB teams. The gap now about $600 million, and closing fast. The Dodgers are going to have an even bigger year in 2025 with more opportunities to monetize Shohei. They have this bulletproof TV contract, $8.35 billion over 25 years, while the rest of the RSN ecosystem is melting down. And for the first time, Dodgers always have the highest attendance every year. But this is last year was the first time in a long time that they generated the most gate receipts. They're able to monetize those tickets better than ever. The Yankees almost always lead that category. And of course, the Japanese sponsors coming in has been an absolute home run for the franchise.
I mean, where then do the other teams go when they see the Dodgers? Because, I mean, that will lead to labor, and you don't have to go right there now. But I'm hearing it's all systems go on the Dodgers. It's going to continue to be all systems go. The offseason felt like every really good free agent went to play for the Dodgers on a team that already won the World Series. So extrapolate for me, is it good for baseball that a marquee franchise like the Dodgers, historic franchise, is doing so well? Or is it bad for baseball when even big revenue teams are starting to say, that may not be so good for even us? So you tell me, Dodgers, good for baseball, bad for baseball, both? Why?
Oh, it's both. Absolutely. Dynasty spur interest. We see that across all sports. People tune in because it generates new fandom, particularly internationally, what's going on. And baseball has huge ambitions internationally. But you to your point, you have big revenue teams. I mean, we've always had this imbalance, right, in baseball, where the small market teams saying, I can't keep up with the Yankees and the Red Sox for a while. But now you have this two-headed monster, the Dodgers, only the fourth sports team in the world to generate $1 billion in annual revenue after the Cowboys and then Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. And then you have Stevie Cohn, which was the fear when he bought into this sport and bought the Mets in 2020, that he would just spend and with no regard for operating losses, which in the case of the Mets have topped $200 million in their worst year because of the revenue disparity with how much he's spending on payroll. But Steve Cohen's worth more than $20 billion, and he made more than $1 billion.
Well, he also he might also have a nice real estate development with a casino to get to put on the site.
He's playing a bigger game here than just losing a few dollars on the baseball team. So you do have big market teams now that are concerned, saying we can't go on like this. And baseball is, what is the crisis? Is it a terrible thing to waste? Baseball is looking at this changes in the TV model right now, the revenue disparity as a way. There is a way to bridge the gap with both of those things, bringing more TV programming in-house, creates a bigger central revenue sharing check. Teams, the big market teams, the carrot for the big market teams is they have a lower revenue sharing check that they have to write every single year. And the floor lifts on franchise values, which we've certainly seen in the NBA and the NFL because of that big league check.
Hey, Kurt, if we didn't have to pay Novi Williams so much, we could afford soundtracks. And right about now, I'd have the producer hit the button that says dun 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 dun. That's what you're. It's a foreboding, foreshadowing. Uh-oh, it doesn't sound so good for baseball fans.
Well, we've seen this for baseball for decades, right? The union owners are battling back and forth, and baseball always has this tricky calculus because you have the big market owners and the small market owners who have very different agendas. I mean, baseball's unique. It's the only one of the big five U.S. sports leagues that does not have a salary cap. So you have teams operating with very different models because they have very different economics.
So if the union says your beef is not with us, this is owner versus owner, go solve your own house. Get your own house in order. It's got nothing to do with us. Do they have a point?
They do have a point, and so that's part of the reason revenue sharing fills some of the gap. But we've reached this interesting calculus where big market teams are spending money, they're spending money on payroll and then also revenue sharing. $550 million transferred from big revenue teams to small revenue teams. Dodgers wrote a $150 million check for 2024 that got sent down to lower revenue teams. And so those teams, in a lot of cases, the Dodgers are making money, but you have teams like the Giants, teams like the Phillies, obviously the Mets are losing money. Teams at the bottom of the financial table, they are profitable. In most cases. So it's it's a fascinating dynamic that's going on right in the sport. And the increased revenue sharing is supposed to solve this revenue disparity. It doesn't solve it all the way, obviously. But you have the big market teams that are like, we're going to spend anyway because we want to go for it. Small market teams saying, we can't win the World Series. We might as well turn a profit here. And that has those fan bases irate. And it's again, it's not a great long-term strategy to put money in your pocket and not invest in your franchise.
The thing that I and you summed it up well there. Yeah, the thing that I can't fully understand is when we talk about salary cap, Dodgers anti or Dodgers pro. This system seems like it's working very well for the Dodgers, right? And you can make an argument that it's not working that well competitively for these lower teams, as you said. But as you just said, they're also profitable. They're also putting money in owners' pockets. I am curious how you see the breakdown happening on the topic of salary cap between your Dodgers and your Yankees, and then your Rays and your Pirates, and then take kind of the fat middle of these teams that are kind of trying to straddle both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Dodgers, Mets, anti-salary cap because they want to flex their muscles. You could make a case. Almost every other team is on board for a salary cap at this point in time, with a salary floor. But the union has made clear their point for decades. We'll take a floor. We're fine with that. We have no interest in a cap, and that's a hard no from them. And because they think it restricts, and it does. I mean, it restricts salaries at the very top end of the food chain. It limits you from doing that $765 million deal for Soto or $700 million for Ohtani. But the argument is, for the overall collective union, most players will do better. Because there's obviously so many more people at the bottom end of the food chain. If you raise minimum salaries, and they did it during the last CBA, which helped got this thing approved because they raised minimum salaries significantly, and the reality is most players are making less than $1 million in Major League Baseball, particularly now because rosters are filled out with guys with less than 3 years of experience.
I want to shift the conversation to talk about another team that's kind of in the middle but is noteworthy. If you look at the year over year valuation change, as you said, the Dodgers 23% increase, by far the largest. The second largest is the Athletics, 15% jump to 1.57 billion. The Athletics are moving, theoretically hoping to move to Las Vegas. In the meantime, they're going to play a few years at least at a minor league baseball stadium in Sacramento. Walk folks through how you value the Athletics with a potential move to Vegas, which, if it happens, would be a massive business accelerant for them, and also how they think about the economics in Sacramento as opposed to the economics in a quote-unquote Major League Baseball stadium in Oakland.
Yeah, let me make one point, Eben, before he does, because since we're talking about the Athletics, that the Rays, let's remember, are playing in a minor league ballpark also, or spring training facility of the Yankees. They too will do better than if they played in their stadium, the Trop, that of course got destroyed by the hurricane. So let me just set it up with that and take it away, Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, both franchises very tricky to value at this point in time. The A's obviously no longer dropped Oakland. They are the Athletics this year, or A's as they'd like to be called. They had the lowest revenue in baseball last year. Part of that is because they don't receive their full 100% revenue sharing check based on the last CBA. They got 75% of their allotment. This year, they will receive 100%. But on top of getting a full revenue sharing check, we estimated their revenue around 275 million last season. This year, the team's expecting 330, 340, 340 million dollars playing in a minor league stadium. They've sold out the stadium for the year, 14,000 seats. Sponsors have showed interest.
Way more than they averaged last year.
Way more than
it was way more.
You and Lev did a great graphic that showed the hundreds of sports teams across the country that topped the A's attendance last year. And most importantly, or maybe equally importantly, they secured all of their TV money by staying in Sacramento. Moving to Las Vegas will be a smaller market. But when they move to Las Vegas, the A's are expecting a massive increase in revenue. Again, we're a few years away. We see this often when a new stadium opens or a new arena opens, certainly with the Los Angeles Clippers this year in basketball, and historically baseball when teams have opened a new building. And the A's are going to have one of the biggest deltas in terms of an increase in revenue because of where they were coming from in the Coliseum to this new building in Las Vegas. Now, a lot has to happen with selling sponsorships, selling the premium seating, pricing for all of these products. And they've just put shovels in the ground here. I mean, this is a few years away from happening. So we lead into these valuations, as this selling cycle starts, as the building starts to get built. And when it opens, as is the case with the Clippers this year, we look at it as kind of fully valued in terms of the valuation. So that value should tick up to the point where the A's are expecting revenue to top $500 million by quite a bit in 2028 when they're in Vegas.
How differently do you think about the Las Vegas A's if there is an NBA team in Las Vegas when they move versus if there is not an NBA team in Las Vegas when they move?
Well, we've seen the Vegas market has certainly proven itself, whether we're talking about the Knights or the Raiders, the Aces, every franchise that has moved there. And I think there's a consensus that the NBA in Las Vegas is a slam dunk. I mean, and will be wildly successful. The baseball, there's obviously naysayers out there with the baseball component of it. Because listen, summer in outdoors in Las Vegas is a different proposition in terms of the heat. And now,
and it would double the inventory of games, right? Whatever the Knights and the Raiders contributed to professional sporting events in Vegas, the baseball team will way more than double that total, and will essentially double it even if an NBA team is there.
Right.
And that to me,
81 games is a lot to fill, but the A's look at this similar to when we think about the Raiders, where it's every fan's away game that they want to go to. The A's, what they like is baseball's balanced schedule now, where you're no longer playing the 18 or 19 games against teams in your own division. Now you're playing teams across the entire sport. So from their standpoint, that excites them because every market
Interesting.
is going to look at the A's like, oh, this is on our bucket list. Let's go see if we're going to see an away team. Let's go to Vegas and see our team there.
There has to be a pool in the outfield, right? Like there just has to be. I mean, but
we've seen the renderings. The renderings have changed several times.
You know how I feel about
Scott,
renderings,
look at
Kurt.
the
Nothing but
renderings.
PR. We're not talking about renderings. Even the A's had to come out and say of those first renderings, disregard them. They are meaningless. They mean
Throw them in
nothing.
the trash. I think
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the- is the quote.
yeah. All the sports business outlets, they'll put every rendering ever created up. I'm like, come on, enough. I never want to see another rendering as long as I live. But let's remember why this is all happening in Vegas. I mean, back then, there's been just a transformational change in what Vegas is. It used to be the casinos would fight anything about pro sports because they thought it would take people out of their lobbies, away from the slot machines, away from the tables. So they wanted everybody to stay there. So no, we don't want anything where entertainment where they would leave our casinos. Now Vegas is like a family destination. The mantra is just get people here. Now it's about the entertainment. Come see the show, the cocktails, great margin in a whiskey sour. So it's just get people to come to Las Vegas. They don't have to be 24/7 in our casino. There's just been a fundamental shift in the thinking of what Las Vegas is.
Kurt, we had Sal Galatioto on the podcast last week. Sal, as you know,
I don't think I
as he
can. I
said,
don't think I can compare it to Sal.
No, you can't. It's fine.
He's very bullish on baseball. His business is obviously is also very involved there. But when we asked him top line at the start, why are you so bullish on baseball? The first thing out of his mouth was revenue multiple. He mentioned that it is the lowest revenue multiple of any of the American leagues. He's right about that. The multiple in your most recent valuations, 6.6 times revenue. That compares to 11.9 for the NBA, 9.4 for MLS, 9.3 for the NFL, 7.7 for the NHL. Both the NWSL and WNBA are also higher than baseball. Why is it, for folks who might be curious, why is it that the revenue multiple is so much lower in baseball than it is for all these other sports, some of which have teams that are more valuable and some that have less valuable than the MLB?
Yeah, the problem right now is the uncertainty that the sport is looking at over the next 36 months, because you have this three-pronged problem of revenue disparity, labor issues, and then the TV distribution and how to monetize it properly. So if you talk to bankers right now, they love baseball because they look at the value compared to the other sports whose franchise values have grown tremendously, and the amount of content. It is still watch content. I mean, it is still the number one content in most markets for a 6-month period. 162 games is a lot of content, but you've got to figure out a way to monetize it. The NBA should not be generating more than twice as much in total media rights as Major League Baseball has, with half as much content.
Half the games.
With half the games and ratings that in many cases are much lower. So
And more competition with the NFL. Yeah.
and more competition with the NFL, exactly. So that's why people like it right now. But there is real concern about how this tricky dance is done over the next few years. But if you talk to bankers and investors, they look at this sport as 28, 29 as having if they can solve these issues properly, as having a massive step up. Because you look at since Sportico started, and we doing sport team valuations. So we're going in 4 years now, 5 years. The average MLB team, I think, is up 100 at the bottom of the table, is up about 28%. Those when we talk about the NHL, NFL, NBA, those are all up 120 to 150%, because they have kind of produced a very solid economic model that works from top to bottom. That doesn't exist in baseball right now. There's just way too many holes in the system.
Novi, it sounds like that Kurt is telling us to put in a bid for the Kansas City Royals. They're on the market. That's what it sounds like.
in 2 years, perhaps.
Yeah, just sit on that. It's like buying a gold bar or a CD. I don't know, but he's telling me now it could be a far better investment than anything safe like a treasury. I'm ready. All right.
Well,
That's a good transition, Scott, because I want to talk about franchise sales. The only baseball team that has sold in the past few years was the Orioles, sold to a local longtime fan, billionaire. There have been a number of other teams on the market that did not sell. The Nationals did not sell. The Angels did not sell. The Twins are on the market right now, and I think we've all done our own reporting and talked to some people about where that stands right now. It doesn't seem like that process has been incredibly vibrant. But given a lot of optimism that we see from bankers and some of the conversations you're seeing, Kurt, how big a red flag is it that 3 of the last 4 teams that have hit the market have not found a buyer?
Yeah, it's a significant problem. I mean, it shows a certain level of investor interest. Maybe on the ownership side, obviously expectations versus where the bids came in. And they weren't able to reach a deal. But that is a very big red flag. And certainly with the Nationals, the TV component was an overhang on the sale. The Angels, there was risk with their TV deal, but they also have some stadium issues to work through. The Twins and have some TV component issues that have to be dealt with, and so. And there's not a lot of data out there in terms of control sales. You have to go, before the Orioles, you have to go back to Steve Cohen in 2020, which at 2.4, even at the time, people thought, oh my gosh, that's an overpay. That's just Steve Cohen wanted to buy his childhood baseball.
People have to stop
team.
saying that about sports teams because every time it's been said, it's been like wildly off.
That's
Whether it
gonna
be
be
the
the
Bucks
salary
or
in
Ballmer
2
and the
years.
Clippers or whatever it is. Enough already.
I mean, enough already is right because the Dodgers, maybe second behind the Clippers, as people thought the biggest overpay we've seen in sports. 2.15 billion dollars. Team had filed for bankruptcy the previous years. The price was twice as much as the previous record, the Dolphins sale across North American sports franchises, and here we are. They're up, 3.5x. In a dozen years. So yes, to your point, history shows there is still a lot of runway typically in these transactions.
I think I might have said Royals and I meant to say Twins is what's on the market. Did I say Royals? And
I was
nobody,
gonna-
you
I was
guys were
wondering
nice
whether
enough not to
Royals
jump in on me.
We know
Go
what- we know
ahead.
what you meant. Maybe some.
Well, you know what I went, but maybe the listeners don't know. Yeah, the Royals are not. No, I meant to say the Minnesota Twins. Sorry, everybody.
Gotcha.
And by the way, we talk so much
AL
Oakland
Central
A's.
team.
Yeah, we talk so much Oakland A's. I'm guessing, is there anybody out there who doesn't know the MC Hammer story in the A's? Is there I bet if we tell it here, do people know that MC Hammer was a bat boy for the A's, and the reason he got the Hammer nickname was because some of the players thought he looked like Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, and so that's why they dubbed him Hammer.
I don't think I knew that.
You didn't know that?
I think that's the first time I've heard.
Oh my God, Kurt, help me out with it. You want to be a co-host of a podcast, Kurt? I can't have Evan Novi-Williams not knowing
No, I knew he was a bat boy, but I didn't know that's where the name came.
That's where
from.
Hammer came from.
I knew.
Yeah. A bunch of the players there thought he looked like Hank Aaron, so they called him Hammer.
That's great. I did not know that.
Oh, well, now I feel
R.I.P.
absolutely
Oakland
peachy
Athletics.
that I brought it up. This is great. Nice. All right, Kurt, tell me something. Well, you talked about the media component, and we were talking to Rob Manfred not long ago for our show on the Yes Network, and Rob just made it seem as if they're trying to centralize more rights. You wonder what will the big league clubs give up to kind of the central office if they're trying to do it. They had BAMTech, they sold it, So it seems like there's a plan in place anyway to centralize rights and distribute. But my guess it'll be more of a streaming, obviously, service. Your thoughts on at least what the plan that seems to be taking shape?
Yeah, the plan makes a lot of sense. And if you look at how the other sports operate, baseball, the RSN model worked great for baseball. Because it was so much programming, it allowed
so local,
RSN
yep.
to literally be created just on the back of baseball. Because you could create an RSN because you had the 162 games, you had shoulder programming, and it was incredibly as these valuations ticked up and up. Teams got equity in these RSNs, which was incredibly valuable. Now it is almost all evaporated. And the idea is to centralize linear content as well as streaming rights, package it in with domestic media rights, which expire after 2028. They need to do some level of bridge agreements if ESPN doesn't come back to the table, but also package in with international, because at this point they are not monetizing the international rights
I was going to
really
actually
at
ask you
all.
specifically about international. The
Yeah.
the World Baseball Classic has had a little bit of a resurgence. Certainly the MLB Japan relationship, which Scott and I talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, seems stronger than ever. Baseball has the advantage of being a sport that is played in a lot of places around the world, not just South America, but in little pockets in Europe and certainly in pockets of East Asia. How do you think about, and Scott and I are going to talk next week about the NBA and their international plans, a big story we broke this week, but how do you kind of assess the untapped potential of MLB, not baseball, but MLB's business opportunity overseas?
We saw it with this series in Tokyo. 25 million people tuned in to watch the first game
Yeah.
in Japan. 25 million people. I mean, those are NFL. Those are good NFL numbers. 18 million people watch an exhibition game on TV between the Dodgers and a Japanese team. And so you've got this crop of young Japanese players. So there is a lot of runway ahead here when you think about the opportunity in baseball. And so it's on the merchandise side, it's on the sponsorship side, it's on the content side, and almost all those revenues flow through the league office. And so all of that momentum, yes, it helps the Dodgers because they do, sponsorships at Dodger Stadium. But most of those economics all flow through the league office. So it helps the Rays and the Marlins and the Royals and all of those teams. And so at this point, again, talking to people, the international rights were almost like a throw-in in the past in terms of what they were able to generate in revenue. Now there is a very concerted plan, and particularly if you think about the big streamers who might be interested in these global rights because they all operate globally. There is some real optimism that there is a lot, not a huge pot at the end of the rainbow here when we think about what those rights could garner internationally. So you're going to need to cull some of the big market. The problem is the big market teams are going to have to give up some of their programming because you need the Yankees, you need the Dodgers, you need the Mets, you need these teams that are big national or even international brands. And so again, they will. The Yankees paid a little over around $75 million in revenue sharing check last year. That revenue sharing check comes down. The Red Sox $70 million revenue sharing bill comes down. That's what these teams are getting in return for giving up some of their local rights that are so valuable.
It is insane to me that there is no club baseball international, even exhibition series, that the Dodgers or the MLB champion doesn't play the Nippon League champion in a 3-game series.
Nobody
rotating
can
every
beat
year between
Hanshin. Come on.
Tokyo and LA. There's some inherent benefits that baseball has here. The NFL cannot.
You want a
play-
Club World Cup, is what you're saying.
I want a Club World Cup, yeah, or even just an exhibition series between the best team in Japan and the best team in the U.S. And the NBA, I think, is maybe going to get close to this, possibly under the umbrella of its own IP. But yeah, the given, as you said, the numbers that you've seen in Japan, how vibrant that is, and how competitive, actually competitive, a baseball game, from what I understand, would be between a good MLB team and a good Japanese team. Hockey can't do that. NFL can't do that. NBA can do it and probably will at some point. Soccer figured this out a long time ago, that if you have comparable teams in different countries, you should have them playing each other, and not just in international format, but in club format.
Yeah, but I can.
I agree.
Hold on.
There
Hockey
seems to
can
be-
put on 4 nations, and I can have Putin on one team and Carney on the other. I've seen them skate. I mean, I'm watching that. Netflix, here we come. I'm
Netflix
watching
is
that.
jumping in on that. Yeah,
I'm
But
watching
again,
that.
it's exactly the thing that these streaming services want. In a time when every league is trying to figure out how to, in very bite-sized media contract chunks, create new IP and new things for threading into or on the edge of gimmick that's going to get fans. In
Let's
new
just
countries
call it
or in
David
America.
Levy model.
Sure. Yeah, the David Levy model. Yeah, it just seems like it's so obvious to me on baseball, and I'm sure.
I think so. We've certainly seen it. It makes a ton of sense on the club level, and we've seen the success on the international level, where you're talking about 12U at Williamsport.
Great point. Yeah, the youth figured this out already.
Yeah, but the World Baseball Classic, I would expect the next round of the World Baseball Classic to garner a lot of eyeballs. Particularly if Japan, the Stars are all playing for Japan, and they move on, to the final rounds.
Yeah. And by the way,
we have
I don't know
Olympic
if we
baseball coming up as well in 28, and baseball MLB players will almost certainly be playing there. So.
Eben, I don't know if we included this in our story, but I can tell you exactly what you just said. I mean, it was said to me as part of the NBA sort of EuroLeague that one of the principal things the league can do, because it's 0-0, would be whichever team wins the EuroLeague or this new can come and play in like the NBA in-season tournament.
NBA Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
So,
total
I
sense.
mean, makes perfect sense. All right, Kurt, let's get you out here on this. I want to put you on the spot. Based on your valuations, so you must pay what each of these teams you say are worth. Which club would you buy first?
Oh, I know what the answer is to that.
You're going to go right to the bottom?
I'm going to the bottom for value, and
See? I think like Kurt.
Not know the
I'm
answer.
getting.
It's very
I'm getting in. I am bullish on the A's Vegas plan. I'm buying in at the A's if I can get in right now. They're trying to raise money.
Yeah.
They're trying to raise money.
Sal is helping them raise money. The aforementioned Sal Galatioto.
Sal is trying to help them, trying to get more than our current valuation. But I am bullish when they are moving to Vegas, and MLB has worked out some of their current issues. I think Vegas can be a top 10 franchise, which means a potentially $3 billion franchise. So I'm getting in at 1.57.
All right,
I
you,
was
Evan?
very wrong. I was
Where are you?
very wrong. I would be the Dodgers, I think. I think given the way the economics of the sport work right now, without a lot of confidence that is going to be dramatically changed in the next CBA, you have a team that has all of the best players, is geographically close to Japan, has a lot of the best Japanese players, has a sweetheart media deal, and is profitable right now, and could win 6 of the next 10 World Series easily. All those things feel to me like, yeah, it's a hefty fee to buy the team, but yeah, it seems like it seems like, because you said, Kurt, like likely pass the Yankees at some point and become the crown jewel baseball business wise in baseball. Yeah, to me it's the Dodgers.
Right, nobody asked me, but
How about
I'm
you,
going to
Scott?
split the middle, guys. I'm going to split the middle. I want the Blue Jays
Ooh.
because I want to market this team as like the only team. Like, hey, you United Canada, this is your team. You've got one in an entire nation. Like you got to take. I can take advantage of that. More than they do already. I want to be.
Collecting all your
I will
revenue.
pitch this as, yo, my God, nationalism at every turn. We're singing. We're everything. Absolutely. You saw that Four Nations Cup. You saw how bad those Canadians wanted to beat the Americans. This is Canada's team. That's it.
Does the
Take out the
South
Toronto.
Blue
This
Jays-
is Canada Blue Jays. We're renaming it. It's Canada Blue Jays. That's
Do
it.
the Canada Blue Jays play the American national anthem before games?
I wouldn't. No.
Cut
No.
them off.
No.
I love it.
Yep. There we go. See? All that controversy means revenue. That's all I can tell you.
I like that we're in 3 different buckets here, because
Yeah.
the last time we made predictions with the 3 of us about the Celtics, we were all wrong, and the clip didn't look great for us.
Whoa. That deal has
So
not
someone's
closed,
gonna
my
be
friend.
right.
That deal has not closed, my friend.
That deal is not closed. You're right. But someone's going to be more right than the other 2 here. So we will hold on to this, and we will use it in the
Still
future.
can't believe you guys
Thank
didn't know
you
about
very much to Kurt Boddenhausen.
MC
You can
Hammer.
Find him on Twitter.
How do
at
you not know that
KBoddenhausen.
MC Hammer?
Scott Soshnick with all the MC Hammer trivia.
Anybody
You can
know
find him
MC
on
Hammer's
Twitter
real
at
name?
Soshnick.
Anyone? Kurt?
Nobody
MC
knows
Hammer's
it.
real
You
name?
can find me, Eben Novi Williams,
Kurt?
on Twitter
No.
at Novi.
No.
_Williams.
Eben?
No
I know
idea.
what you're trying to say.
Justin
No.
Marina Wald produces
The
show.
correct
Thank you very
answer
much to
to
Justin
what is the given
and Matt
name
Palacio,
of
who is
MC
Sportico's
Hammer
digital
is
Media Czar. Would like you to know that you can
Stanley
follow the show at
Burrell.
Sporticast, the hub of the Sportico.
The learning never
network.
ends.
Can't touch this stuff.
Oh, well done. Oh, what a good finish by Novi Williams. Well done. Loved it. Nice.